Hello and welcome back. I've created this series of short videos to show you the ICTs that you could be using when you think about the task that you've been given. In this video, I look at how you can use online games in both your teaching and assessment. The use of online games in the classroom will obviously mean that you need to be connected to the Wi-Fi. So the requirements would be a computer with a Wi-Fi connection and a data projector or an interactive whiteboard. Students will need access to tablets and Wi-Fi connection. Let's look at what these ICTs are. There is the overhead projector, videos, computers, data projectors, multimedia presentations, interactive or smart whiteboards, simulations, games, and the smartphone. In this video on the use of online games for biology, I've created a multimedia presentation to introduce you to using games in biology. So firstly, text. There is a wiki site on how to teach biology, and it's a text, so we will first click on that link and go there. And we will open the hyperlink. How to Teach Biology, co-authored by Soren Rosier. It starts off by saying biology is one of the central branches of scientific knowledge and is relevant to topics including medicine, genetics, zoology, ecology, and public policy, for example, such as health. As such, it has the potential to interest almost any student. To be successful at teaching biology, however, you will have to think carefully about ways to share this exciting field in ways that are relatable and enjoyable. It says along the way you should make it your goal for students to achieve at least a fundamental knowledge of biology concepts. So let's go down and have a look at ways to ensure biology is made enjoyable. Number one, he says relate biology to everyday life. Secondly, incorporate hands-on activities. Incorporate multimedia materials, such as we're doing right now. Number four, look for ways to bridge technology and biology. And then when we come to 5, utilize science games to teach biology. It says a little friendly competition in the form of educational games can be a nice way to spice up your biology course. And then finally, number 6, host biology-centered field trips. So this video focuses on how you can utilize online science games to teach biology. Coming back now to my multimedia presentation. My second media is sound. So listen to the podcast, Ask a Biologist. The podcast is about 31 minutes, so I don't expect you to listen to the whole podcast, but I will extract the part from the podcast that I want you to pay careful attention to. But we can go to the podcast. We will open the hyperlink. Okay, Ask a Biologist is a podcast hosted by Arizona State University. In Ask a Biologist, this is a podcast interview with David Mcconville, who actually develops these large online games based on scientific data. And in the podcast, it talks about how games can help people understand difficult concepts.
This is Ask a Biologist, a program about the living world, and I'm Dr. Biology. Today we're going to be talking about art, biology, big data, and games. As it turns out, these are just a few of the many areas and tools that our guest uses to explore and understand our planet. He's also a good example that you do not have to be a biologist to have a career that focuses on the living world and how it works. David Mcconville is a media artist that spends his time thinking and developing immersive worlds that you can explore. In other words, visual experiences that make you feel like you're there. He's also an advocate of games for learning. Now, these are not your typical Warcraft-like games, although there are some like Spore and Fate of the World that are just as entertaining as they are good for learning about our planet and life on our planet.
First off, it's huge teams of people that are building these things. I by no means want to take credit of all of this work. What I really focus on is how are we using these to their utmost capacity? How are we bringing them to the largest audiences? How are we using them effectively? And kind of my ultimate game is one that we're really working on now with a project called the Worldviews Network that is taking billions of dollars worth of space science data and earth science data and figuring out how do you tell the story of human life in the context of everything we've been able to observe? How do we really get to understand and appreciate our home in the universe? Because we are in this extraordinary place that is so amazing that we don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about, where our water is coming from most of the time. And we don't have to think about the billions of bacteria that are in the soils generating all of the food that we're just now really starting to understand the levels of complexity. And so my goal with using these tools is to help people really appreciate the beauty and the fortunate position we're in of being able to be the recipients of all of this to the point where we just take it for granted. We just get up in the morning and we don't even have to think about it. But trust me, if you go to Mars, every single day, your life is going to be filled with toil because you're trying to just, meet the basic requirements of sustenance, and you have to import it all in there with you. And so what I like to do is to help people to resituate themselves, to understand the context that we are in here, that we've been taking for granted for a long time.
Okay, so going back to my multimedia presentation, the last part of the multimedia presentation is images, where I'm using video. Okay. And on this video, the presenter talks about the game called Cellcraft and how the game is used to teach students about biology. And it was built by a team of people from universities, so this is a very informative game for students to play, and the presenter of the video does say it's kind of fun. So with this little insert, not only have I shown you another example of how a multimedia presentation can be created, but this multimedia presentation is focused on the use of online games in biology. So firstly, it's one of the ways in which you can make biology both interesting and exciting for your students. In the podcast, you heard that it was important for teaching and helping students develop an understanding of difficult concepts. And with the YouTube video, you saw that the game Cellcraft can teach students about the processes that happen in the cell. There are in fact a host of online games that your students could play with interactively in the classroom. These games are all from planeta24.com, the biology site. So there are games on the organ system, human evolution, the brain, muscle types, and food chain puzzle, all interactive games. And although here is one of them, for example, on the nervous system, where students have to match organs with the system, the games are very interactive. And the developer actually has a YouTube video for each game to explain how the game should be played. From helpfulgames.com, here the students create an account, a free account, and their scores can be recorded and tallied. They can even create their own biology game. So there are many sites out there with useful biology games that students could interact with, and they could actually learn some of the biology content that they need to, and you can use the scores as part of your formative assessment. Until next time, everybody, this was the Opinionated Science Educator.